OK, quick question for you at home and a quick question for you two guys. What were you doing on the 22nd of November 2003?
I know where I wanted to be.
You wanted to be in Australia?
Yeah.
But you were drinking heavily and watching the rugby, and you?
I was presenting on BBC News 24, as it was then. Very aware not many people were watching.
Exactly. Well, that man next to you was doing quite a lot. Do you recognise him? Yes, that is, of course, Jonny Wilkinson. Good morning to you, Jonny.
Good morning.
Welcome to the programme. I better start by just saying, how are you?
Yeah.
Are you fit and well?
I'm not actually fit. I'm very, very well, but I'm not physically fit at the moment. I've got this whole big old knee here sort of going on just from an injury I got at the start of the season, unfortunately, and had a few things done. I've had my knee, and whilst that was doing, I've had my shoulder done too, so just getting some stuff
Two for one. Two for one at the same time. Because England need you back at the moment, don't they?
Well, that's very kind. I think I'm always desperate to get back in. I'm so excited about the rugby, and I'm loving playing and just enjoying myself at the moment, and I think when that happens I do play my best. But I think England, you know, I'm one of those people. I've got an inside look, and I like the way it's going. It's tough at the moment, but I know that's the right squad, it's the right coaches, it's the right man at the top. I think it's going to be great.
Good. Well, you've come to talk us through your book here, Tackling Life. Now, I've read a few sports books, you guys, and you've read it. It's not like an ordinary sports book. I scored a try, then I had a few drinks. Yeah. It's quite deep stuff about how you handle life.
Yeah, do you know what? I looked at the journey for me, and it's taken me from one extreme, not necessarily to another, but it's taken me through a lot of stuff, and a lot of it is based around things I think that everyone experiences at some point, whether it's a bit of fear, whether it's a bit of nerves, whether it's disappointment, dealing with that, whether it's about understanding how you fit into it all, and understanding, for me, the impermanence of it all. You know, the fact that I have got to give up rugby at some point. I've got to give up this identity that goes with that, and I've got to give up this life and understand that that isn't such a bad thing. That change is brilliant, and I think a lot of it's about some of the setbacks, which have turned out to be really, really big motivating factors and hugely important bricks in my foundation.
One of the things I think a lot of people are finding surprising that you're talking very honestly about at the moment is that moment winning the Rugby World Cup is something that you just cannot admit to having enjoyed, because you found it wasn't really a fear of failure, it was almost a fear of success you had. That moment when you were a winner suddenly was coupled with a moment of what next? What's it all about?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know whether it was something I figured was just a good lesson to me, or whether it made sense in a wider, sort of broader aspect. I think the fact was, maybe it's like meeting your heroes. You know, I met my biggest goal, and that for me was such a major influence in everything about me at that time in my journey. And then I suddenly achieved something that I desired all my life. I hadn't really left much space for anything else, so when I had it, I realised that it wasn't going to last forever. It wasn't the end credits on a fabulous film. It was just a point to move on from, and I let the road afterwards be a bit of a downhill slope, because I figured, what else is there? And with that went my identity and everything I'd fought for.
It's a very brave thing for anyone, but particularly a sportsman or woman, to open up in the way you have, because if it likes, it makes you kind of vulnerable, makes you, people are aware that. I mean, I just wonder whether people hearing about your anxieties, do you fear that players, when they're playing against you, will know that they can get a mental edge over you by, I don't know, this kind of ribbing thing that goes on, that people come up to you, are they going to whisper in your ear, you're not as good as you think you are? I know. Do you know what I mean?
They have done it for years. People have done that. That's the amazing thing. People have done that for years. People do it all the time. That's part of the psychological warfare, if you like, on the field, is the fact that happens all the time. And the thing that I think I mentioned in the book is the fact that for some reason when the whistle goes, it's all different. When the whistle goes, none of this matters. The problem for me has always been the build-up. It's always been the kind of weight.
Can I ask you another one? I mean, looking through and reading some of the extracts, you clearly reached some quite bad lows. I mean, when you were at that really low point, were you at the point where, for example, you thought about suicide? I mean, did you ever get to those kind of points? Because you hear about sports stars, partly because of the highs, you have these extraordinary lows.
I think I got to some stages where I lost sense of what it was all about, really. I lost sense of where I was, and I lost a lot of my. I just felt very, very empty with the fact that for me, I had so much based on one thing, and when it disappeared, I kind of, I got the injuries as well. I wasn't able to perform, and then it crept into the rest of your life, and that's when you get to a stage where you think, this cannot go on anymore, because it's going dangerously downhill, and what I need to do is create an environment in which I thrive, because all I was trying to do the whole time, despite having this wonderful life, you know, and all these amazing things that people would dream of, yet all I was doing was trying to survive through them. And that's the point where I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to give this game up at some point. And do I really want to look back on a life of just getting by when I had so much to enjoy? And I think that's the journey for me, is saying, well, no, let's stop this. Let's live in the now. Let's make the very most of this. And let's find out what I can do, not how much I can hold on.
Well, that's the big thing, because we want to look for an up here, because this is the past. You've said, you know, you've gone through this battle. A lot of people, we've had so many emails, haven't we, saying, why doesn't he give up? Let his body rest. Have you got to that stage where you say, right, this is it, my last chance, I'm going to really enjoy it, rather than feel all the pressure? Because people do want to see you back at your best.
Well, to be honest, that was the whole point of doing this for me, was the fact to say, you know, it's not... The whole thing has been a learning process, and I wouldn't change a bit of it. And it's got me to where I am now, and I've never been better, never been happier. And for me, I like to think I'm in charge now of myself and my life. And I'm creating this idea that I want to come back playing. I'm enjoying it more than I ever have, and this is what it is.
Can we see the knee?
You can have a little look. Yes, you can have a little look. I'll give you a brief look. In comparison,
Can we see that?
It's maybe a bit sort of bigger than the other one. It's just kind of this round.
Looks a little swollen.
So you've got the scar running right across the top
just
there.
down the middle, yeah. So it will be back, and I will be back with it, you know. So.
Charlie mentioned that, you know, you've obviously been extremely honest about your vulnerabilities. Do you think that there are a lot more sportsmen and women who feel this way, who feel anxious about this striving to be the best, but that there is a lot of bravado in sport, which means that people aren't honest about it?
I think the reason I thought there was maybe a decent aim to try and help people, even if it was by letting them find out what's not true for them and pointing them elsewhere, is the fact that it's everywhere. You know, I know from the guys I play with, everyone feels the same before a game. Everyone wants to do desperately well, and with that, for some reason, there immediately creeps in this fear of what happens if you don't do well. But when you allow that fear room in your mind, you allow it room in your world. And I think I kept meeting people and reading about people, but also having letters from people that were saying, you know, I find this, I really struggle with this. And I just kept thinking, well, hold on. I'm very much the same in some way, and I think that was the great thing of it, is I keep meeting people now who say, you know what, I'm just like that, but I do this is my job.
Was it something, do you think it was just part of your makeup? I know you talked about the very early age when you were super competitive, and I mean that can be a healthy thing, it's part of what you do, obviously, of reaching those elite points. But would you have been the same if you'd been, I don't know, been a banker or an accountant? You would have had those doubts. Do you think it was just part of your makeup?
I think, yeah, definitely. But with that came a huge obsessive streak. And it's still there. But what I think I've learned to do is just find the switch. So I keep that, because you're right, to be in this environment, you cannot afford to be a guy that's just kind of all placid and, you know, let's have fun. You've got to have fun in giving it everything and putting your desires and dreams on the line. That's where the fun comes.
Because we had Marcus Trescothick, funnily enough, you talk about that, sitting in exactly the same place, talking about dealing with exactly the same amount of pressures, and he obviously had to deal with it very differently. He had to walk away from the sport and concentrate on his life and the way he dealt with it. It's very interesting. We wonder, and whether we're at fault here, we put too much pressure on the golden boy over there, who's got the blonde looks, and scores the winning goal, scores the winning points, Lewis Hamilton. We put too much pressure on you. Do you think we are?
I think it's a difficult one, because I think in the society, you know, people want so many things, and in order to get the best, I suppose people deem that you have to be the best. And I think the pressure comes from the fact that you try and fight against things. You try and fight against you guys sometimes with what people say, and you fight against your competitors. And I think that's the bit for me which causes it all, the fact that you're striving against some imaginary force to beat it, and it stops the fun. I think I've learned to go with it. You know, you don't compete to be the best, but your best.
Jonny, thank you very much for coming in today, because I know sitting here chatting it's not your cup of tea, really, is it? It's not your favourite thing.
I'm learning. I have to sit down a bit more, so I'm finding I ought to chat a bit more.
Well, thanks for sitting with us this morning. Good to meet you.